Hello everyone and welcome back to Ravade Reads, the series where I talk about comics, what happens in them, who made them, what I like and don't like, and whether or not I think you should read it. It's like a mix between a reaction video, a podcast, and even a tiny bit of ASMR meant to give you the gist of a comic while leaving enough for you to discover on your own. Today I'll continue to read through the Walking Dead comic series with Volume 3, Safety Behind Bars. Spoilers, but they aren't that safe, I'm assuming. If you haven't already, go check out the previous videos where I read through Volume 1 and 2. And just as a warning, it's a pretty gruesome series because zombies, so you've been warned, I guess. Has the group finally found sustainable shelter in issue 13? Let's go find out. Rick and the rest of the group make their way to the prison shown at the end of the last issue and make their way into the courtyard. Rick, Tyrese, and Andrea take down the walkers while the others remain outside. Lori talks about how she doesn't feel safe, and Chris, who's Tyrese's daughter's boyfriend, shows signs of being a little unhinged. I mean, there's still that ominous cliffhanger that they have to follow up on with him and Julie from before, but anyway, they clear the walkers and make camp for the night. The morning after, Rick and Tyrese head into the prison to try and clear out more walkers so the group has a place to live inside. And while they do find some walkers, what they unexpectedly come across are a few prisoners inside the cafeteria, offering them meatloaf. This issue is about as simple as I explained. I mean, it's very action-driven and more of an introduction than anything else, so not much at all to say here. Let's see what's up with these prisoners in issue 14. For some reason, Rick and Tyrese take up their offer for meatloaf with zero questions, inviting the rest of the group inside with these strangers. It turns out that they've been trapped in there from the start, so Rick has to explain what happened to the outside world, where he finally pieces together that they are prisoners and not prison guards, even though they're wearing prison uniforms inside a prison. I guess Rick and friends somehow didn't realize that right away. After getting a tour of the prison from the inmate Dexter, Rick argues with the group that they should go back and bring Glenn, Herschel, and his family to the prison to live with them. He believes Herschel can teach them to farm and turn the prison into a livable place for a very long time. Rick arrives at Herschel's farm and sees that the place has been attacked by walkers several times. After a pretty quick conversation about how the prison is safer, they all agree to go. It's kinda odd that Herschel would agree so quickly given his behavior from before, but I guess it's prison time for all of them. At least Herschel has a short conversation with Rick telling him that he was losing his mind and that living in the prison is a great idea, or so it seems. While the group is settling in, Chris and Julie put their plan into motion, a suicide pact. But it goes wrong and only Julie ends up dying. Rick runs to see what's going on to find Tyrese there, ready to kill Chris. But things take a turn for the worse as Julie reanimates as a walker, even though she wasn't bit. I'm not really a fan of this issue, to be honest. The group is way too trustworthy of these convicts, hardly questioning a thing about them or being skeptical of them in any way. There's some really bizarre dialogue throughout it too, but at least the ending had something interesting happen, which will change the way that they think about walkers for the series going forward. Will Tyrese go nuts in issue 15? Picking up immediately after, Chris ends up shooting zombie Julie and Tyrese kills him. Rick is too shocked to do anything and tells the rest of the group what happened before they all try to get more sleep, but Rick stays up all night. The morning after, Tyrese burns the bodies alone, telling Rick that he's alright and acting as if nothing happened. After realizing that they all might be infected, Rick takes one of the motorcycles from the prison garage to go off and do something, but won't tell Lori what it is. Instead, he wants her to keep an eye on Tyrese and the prisoners. Meanwhile, one of the prisoners who claims he's there for tax fraud, Thomas, introduces himself to Patricia, one of the people from Herschel's farm, and Glenn and Maggie talk about what it's like to live in the prison. Lori confesses that she's sick of Rick always leaving them to go off and do stuff, and Glenn and Maggie meet back up with them showing off their horrible new haircuts after finding the prison's barbershop. Tyrese then convinces Glenn to go clear out the walker-infested gym with him, where he ends up going crazy trying to take out as many walkers as he can, and the issue leaves Tyrese's fate ambiguous. Meanwhile, we finally catch up with Rick, who has made his way all the way back to Atlanta, which is where he digs up Shane's grave, realizing that he must have turned into a walker when he was down there. Thinking about what Shane would have done if the roles were reversed, he kills zombie Shane and leaves him there to rot. The issue ends with Herschel searching for his daughters Rachel and Susie, where he stumbles upon their beheaded corpses in the barbershop, which was a crazy ending. I think this is a much better issue than the previous two. There's some really crazy moments like Tyrese killing Chris and then taking on all those walkers alone, Rick going back to kill zombie Shane, and that crazy ending. If I had to guess, things are going to get pretty dark pretty quickly. Let's follow up that crazy ending with issue 16. While Rick makes his way back to the prison, Maggie comes across Herschel and the beheaded corpses of her sisters that have since reanimated into zombies. Glenn, Andrea, and Billy have to leave Tyrese behind after being overwhelmed with walkers, and one of the prisoners, Axel, not only spies on Carol and Lori in the showers, but tells the other prisoner, Andrew, that his relationship with Dexter is going to fall apart now that women are here. So, yeah, maybe not the best idea to have trusted these guys, but pretty much all hell has broken loose. The rest of the group finds out what happened, so Lori and Dale go to confront Dexter since he confessed to going to prison for murder, but he denies that he killed those kids. While the group tries to recover, Carol, who thinks Tyrese is dead, tries to kiss Lori after being overcome with grief, and Dale and Andrea, who are in a relationship despite the massive age gap, talk about how there is so much grief that it's hard to even feel emotion anymore. Rick finally returns and is informed about everything that happened. After learning about Tyrese, he goes in with some others to at least confirm that he's dead, only to find that he has killed every single walker in the gym single-handedly. After reuniting with Lori and Carl and bringing back Tyrese to Carol, Rick goes to confront Dexter about the murder, which he continues to deny, Rick stating that he will kill him if he learns the truth. As he walks through the halls, he overhears Alan explaining the concept of death to his kids and tries to apologize to Herschel. Rick finally catches up with Tyrese, who tells him the reason that he isn't so upset with his daughter's death is that she is finally at peace and doesn't have to worry about survival 24/7. Meanwhile, in a plot twist that everyone saw coming, Thomas confronts Andrea, threatening to cut her head off. A pretty good follow-up to the last issue. Lots of death and darkness, but I guess that's what I signed up for with reading The Walking Dead. And yeah, I think it was pretty obvious that Thomas was the bad guy, and the fact that no one questioned him ever was a little bit silly. Let's see how Andrea handles Thomas in issue 17. After Andrea gets knocked out by Thomas, we see that not only is Rick blaming himself for everything that happened with Herschel's daughters, but Billy also blames his father, Herschel. Meanwhile, Dexter convinces Andrew to break into A block of the prison to grab the riot gear and weapons so that they can escape. Dale, Glenn, and Axel think of ways to keep walkers from breaking down the fence. Carol and Tyrese get some alone time after thinking he was dead, and Carl agrees to be Sophia's boyfriend because they'd be able to hold hands. But as this is happening, Andrea breaks free while Thomas is screaming that he's going to kill her. Rick catches Thomas, unleashing all his rage about everything that's happened so far, nearly killing him and breaking his hand in the process of beating him. He then decides that since he's technically in charge, they're going to hang him, saying, "You kill, you die." Lori, for some reason, is completely upset about this because apparently they would be no better than him, which doesn't really make sense given her attitude towards Dexter earlier on top of everything else that's happened. This issue felt really short, to be honest. I feel like not a whole lot happened besides Rick going full dictator mode, or Rick-tator mode, near the end of the issue, nearly killing Thomas. You can definitely see the strain in his relationship with Lori as he tells her to shut up as she walks off. I'm guessing there's going to be lots of drama in the next issue. Well, here it is, issue 18, the finale of Volume 3. After everything that's happened, Rick and Lori apologize, they let Dexter free, and Dale tries to fix Rick's hand and Andrea's massive scar. Herschel goes berserk on his son for what he said, and goes off with Rick to see the person who killed his daughters. Glenn goes to see Maggie after Herschel leaves, who is in a severely depressed state, telling him that she won't bother loving him anymore since they're all gonna die anyway. While Thomas is locked away in a cell for his hanging, Patricia sneaks in to rescue him because she thinks he's just crazy, not evil. But when Thomas obviously retaliates and tries to kill her, with Tyrese and others trying to stop him, Maggie walks out and shoots him several times in the back, completely emotionless, killing him. They throw his body out to the walkers, and Herschel watches with tears rolling down his face. Just as the group starts to think of how to confront Patricia for her weird behavior, Dexter and Andrew come out with riot gear and guns, threatening to kill everyone in the group unless they leave the prison. Boom, another cliffhanger ending. I guess they weren't so safe behind those bars after all. And that's going to do it for Volume 3, Safety Behind Bars. I feel like I don't really have much to say this time around, or a real conclusive recommendation I can give for this, because unlike the previous 2 volumes, this feels like half a story. So there's a lot to follow up with in this initial prison storyline, so for now I'll just say that it leaves me intrigued for what comes next. Anyways, that's what I thought of this. If you guys did enjoy this video, leave a like, subscribe for more videos, turn on notifications to know when I post, and I'll see y'all next time when I talk about Volume 4. But until then, goodbye.